The Black Sheep's Secret Fortune, How I Bought Their Arrogance. I, 34M, grew up as the family disappointment. While my siblings collected Ivy League degrees and corner offices, I was the one who couldn't get his life together. What they didn't know was that I was playing a completely different game. My older brother Marcus, now 38M, went to Harvard, became an investment banker. My sister Jennifer, 36F, got her MBA from Wharton, now a VP at a Fortune 500. Meanwhile, I barely scraped through state school with a degree in communications, which the family never let me forget. Every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every family gathering was the same script. So still doing that computer thing, Mom 59F. When are you going to get a real job? Dad 62M. I could get you an interview at my firm if you're finally ready to be serious. Marcus, with that condescending smile. What they saw, me bouncing between gig work, living in a cramped apartment, driving a 15-year-old Honda Civic, shopping at thrift stores. What they didn't see, I was teaching myself to code. Not at some boot camp, not for clout, but genuinely building. I lived on $18K a year and invested every other dollar I made from freelance web development into index funds and later, very carefully researched individual stocks. In 2016, I took a junior developer position at a startup nobody had heard of. Salary was $65K, laughable compared to Marcus's $250K banking salary. The family's pity intensified. At least he's finally getting benefits, I overheard Mom tell Jennifer. That startup gave me equity. 0.5% seemed like nothing. Marcus literally laughed when I mentioned it at dinner. Equity in a startup, that's basically monopoly money, buddy. I smiled and changed the subject. I was getting good at that. I was also getting very, very good at building AI ML models before it was cool. While Marcus was pulling 80-hour weeks to make rich people richer, I was automating data pipelines and learning TensorFlow at 2 a.m. By 2019, three things had happened. My startup got acquired. That 0.5% turned into $340K after taxes. I told no one. My index funds and individual stock picks, heavy on tech, some calculated risks on emerging markets, had grown to about 180K. I'd been doing freelance consulting on the side, commanding $200 an hour for ML implementations. Another $60K a year I never mentioned. Total liquid assets, just over 580K. I was still driving the Civic, still living in that same apartment, $900 month rent, still wearing thrift store clothes. The family's concern was now mixed with genuine worry that I was stunted. At Jennifer's wedding, she married another MBA naturally. I was seated at the kids' table despite being 29. Marcus made a toast about success and building a legacy while looking pointedly in my direction. I ate my chicken, smiled, and thought about the dividend payments hitting my account. The acceleration, ages 31-33. Here's what changed. I joined a FAANG company. Not in some flashy role, I was a senior ML engineer, deliberately keeping a low profile. But the compensation package. Base, $180K. Stock, $200K year. Bonus, $40K. Total comp, $420K annually. I told my family I was making $90K as a programmer. They believed it because it fit their narrative. Dad actually tried to give me money for emergencies that year. I accepted it, $5,000, and immediately invested it in VTI. It seemed to make him feel better. Meanwhile, I was living on $45K a year and investing everything else. My portfolio crossed $1.02 in early 2022. The best part, I'd gotten really good at one specific niche, ML models for financial prediction. I started a side consulting LLC, working exclusively with hedge funds and private equity firms. This brought in another $300K, $500K yearly, depending on projects. In late 2022, Marcus came to me with an opportunity. He'd always been the family's financial golden boy, and he was raising money for a real estate investment syndicate. Minimum investment, $50K. "I probably shouldn't even offer this to you," he said over lunch, which he paid for, making a show of it. "But your family, maybe this could be your chance to finally build some real wealth." He slid the prospectus across the table. I scanned it. The projected returns were optimistic. The structure was opaque. The fees were astronomical. "I'll think about it," I said. "Don't think too long," Marcus replied. "This is closing fast, though honestly I'm not sure you have this kind of capital anyway. No shame in that." I smiled. "You're right, probably out of my league." I didn't invest. 6 months later, the deal collapsed spectacularly. Most investors lost 40–60% of their capital. Marcus was suddenly very quiet at family dinners. Dad got sick, not terminal but serious. He needed a surgery that insurance would only partially cover. Out-of-pocket cost, $85,000. The family had a conference call. Marcus explained that his liquidity was tied up. Jennifer had just bought a house, her third property, but apparently not liquid. Mom was in tears. I listened quietly on mute as they discussed payment plans, maybe selling some assets, potentially taking a loan against Dad's house. Finally, someone remembered I was on the call. "Obviously you can't contribute," Jennifer said. "Not mean, just matter of fact. But maybe you could help research charity care options." I unmuted. "I'll cover it," I said. Silence. "What?" Marcus asked. "I'll cover the $85,000. I'll wire it tomorrow." That's not funny," Mom said. "I'm not joking. What's the hospital's billing department contact?" The money went through. Dad got his surgery. The family was confused, grateful, but mostly confused. "Did you take out a loan?" Dad asked when I visited him in recovery. "No." "Then how?" So I told them, not everything but enough. The startup equity, the FAANG job, real numbers this time, the consulting practice, the portfolio that was now worth 2.3 M. Marcus went pale. Jennifer just stared. Mom cried happy tears, I think. "Why didn't you tell us?" Dad asked. "Would you have believed me? Or would you have assumed I was delusional, the same way you've assumed I was failing for the last 15 years? Nobody had an answer for that. Here's the thing that prompted this post. Marcus called me. His firm is struggling and he's being pushed out. He wanted to know if I was still in tech and if I could put in a good word somewhere. The role he was asking about. It reports to me. I'm now a director of ML engineering and we were hearing for his level. I didn't tell him that on the call. I did, however, forward his resume to our recruiting team with a note. Please give standard consideration. No special treatment either way. He didn't get the role. Not because of me, he genuinely didn't have the technical skills. His background was finance, not engineering. But the real moment came at last week's family dinner. Marcus was unusually quiet. Jennifer was trying to fill the silence with chatter about her company's restructuring. Then Mom asked me directly, "Honey, what exactly do you do now?" I could have been gracious. I should have been. But 15 years of condescension, of being treated like the family charity case, of watching them perform their success while dismissing mine. "I build the algorithms that decide whether people like Marcus get to keep their jobs," I said calmly. "I run a team of 47 engineers. I consult for 8 figures of AUM. And I'm buying a house in cash next month, the one on Riverside that Jennifer toured last year but couldn't quite afford." Dead silence. "But you drive that old Honda," Jennifer whispered. "Because I like it. And because I learned a long time ago that the people who need to broadcast their success are usually compensating for something. I'm not looking for validation exactly. I know this sounds petty. It is petty. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel good to finally, quietly, decisively prove that their narrative about me was fiction. The ironic thing, I don't hate them. I'm not even that angry anymore. But I am done being their cautionary tale, their example of what not to do, their project to fix. My relationship with my family is different now. More honest, maybe. More distant, definitely. Mom tries to include me in conversations about money and investing now, which is awkward. Dad looks at me with something between pride and confusion. Marcus hasn't called me back since the job thing. Jennifer, surprisingly, apologized. Real, genuine, tears in her eyes apologized for not seeing me. We've had coffee twice. She's the only one who asked about why I lived like I did, what I was thinking all those years. I was angry, I told her. But I was also free. You all had golden handcuffs. I had options. She got quiet, then admitted her $200K salary barely covered her lifestyle, and she was stressed constantly about maintaining appearances. The black sheep's secret fortune wasn't just about money. It was about buying something they couldn't, freedom from their opinion of me. And yeah, it was a little bit about buying the ability to prove them wrong. Edit, yes, I know this is petty. Yes, I know I could have told them sooner. Yes, I'm in therapy working on my need for external validation despite claiming I don't need it. The irony is not lost on me. Edit 2. For everyone asking about the investing specifics, mostly index funds, VTI VXUS, some individual tech stocks during the 2010s bull run, and extremely boring dollar cost averaging. The consulting income was the real accelerator, not genius stock picks.